nature. Possession is the motivation that is hanging up the goddamn nation. Looks like they always end up in a rut. Everybody now trying to make it real compared to what? Come on, baby.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Pascucci, and welcome to Everything But the Kitchen Sink, one of the premier talk shows here in Mansfield at the Cable Access Studio, which is, by the way, the place to be if you're going to do this kind of thing. It is a pleasure to be here. As always, we like to start the show by saying if you would like to be a guest, recommend a guest, have a question for a guest, have something to say, well, questions, answers, happy birthday. The all-purpose way to get a hold of us is through our email account at mansfieldkitchensink@gmail.com, right there in front of your screen. Always is there, always perfect, courtesy of the best in the business, our ace director, Jack O'Neill. Again, things are just going full tilt here. We've been doing all kinds of things and all kinds of shows. Today for your show, we have something very special. We have some very special people with us, and one of them you know already. And then we're going to get into the people for Protect Mass Children. They've actually been here before, if you remember, if you guys are paying attention. Okay, and they've joined forces with some pretty influential people, and one of those, probably the most influential I can think of, is our good friend and newly elected state representative, Shaunna O'Connell.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thanks. Great to be here. Glad to be back.
Oh, boy. And we have, from Protect Mass Children, we have their president is Joe DiPietro.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
And also we have a spokesperson and all-around good egg that's tied in with the Protect Mass Children, Miss Christine Lausier.
Hi, thank you for being.
Okay, so, anyways, we know what this is. Okay, this is Protect Mass Children. Okay, and we'll start at the beginning. They've had representatives on last summer. We did a really very compelling show. It was a very good show. What Protect Mass Children is all about is getting some mandatory legislation so that they can have some serious sentences, mandatory sentences for child abusers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Joe, who's really the backbone of this whole organization, is going to address this. You're a businessman, a parent, and a victim. Okay, very important. And you want to stop the continued abuse of our children. So why don't you tell us how this all came about and how the group started.
Sure. Actually, John Magoulis is our vice president and co-founder, and he and I, really grew sick of what was happening in the state, and I really wanted to do something about it. And we looked at each other and said, there's two types of people that do things and types of people that don't. And we just couldn't sit back anymore and watch the continued victimization of children. And the laws in our state, they tried for years to strengthen these laws, and they're just not strong enough. So, there's a few ways that we wanted to help lower the rates, and one was through legislation. And thanks to Representative O'Connell, which we're very fond of, and we're very appreciative and lucky to have the opportunity to work with, we drafted legislation for the House of Representatives. And there's 3 bills, and these 3 bills call for strong mandatory sentences. And Massachusetts right now has mandatory sentences. They're just not strong enough.
Okay.
And they don't send a clear enough message. And some of the legislation in the Commonwealth, for drugs in particular, are strong. And it's misguided. We need legislation for people that are violent and that hurt children. And keep these people behind bars as a means not of punishment, but as a solution, so we can protect our children. So we drafted, again, with the help of Representative O'Connell and some other great representatives.
All 32 of them, looks like.
Yes, yeah, 32.
32 so far.
Yeah, we're very we're blessed and we're fortunate, and we're appreciative to have the support that we have. And the first bill that we have is for, it's for forcible rape of a child. And today, our statute calls for a 10-year mandatory. And Jessica's law, which is, I'm sure everyone's familiar with, is a, is a nationwide law that was was after Jessica Lunsford, who was brutally murdered and raped. That law calls for 25 years mandatory, and it doesn't have to be forcible rape. It can be a little bit. It could be lewd and lascivious acts. So our state really has some work to do, and I think that as a whole, we have some great representatives that have tried to do things. And for instance, Shaunna O'Connell, Representative O'Connell, she's been a loud voice for children before she was even a state representative.
Well,
and,
that was part of how she got her
Yes.
start in this. And
That's right, that's right.
And,
I mean, a lot of people have been doing a lot of work for many years to get these laws passed here in Massachusetts. And like Joe said, we just continue to keep on working on them to strengthen them more and more. Mark Lunsford himself has been here to testify on these laws, and he testified at Beacon Hill a few years ago, and that was wonderful to have him here advocating for us as well.
yeah, just as a little refresher course, Shaunna is not a politician. Shaunna is not. She's a mom, all right. And she went to see her rep as a mom with some concerns, and didn't like the answers and the treatment. And as Joe said, there are people that do things about it, and that's Shaunna. She did something about it, and she ended up running, and she won, and she beat out someone that had been in office for a long time, and she's got in, and I gotta say, Shaunna, you dug right in.
I have.
You wasted little time.
Yeah, there's no time to waste.
You made a big splash right away, and you haven't looked back since. So I mean, she is, and you couldn't do any better.
I agree.
You've got the cream of the crop, and she's not the only one. Unfortunately, we only have so much room in our little kitchen here. We couldn't bring them all in, and I would
lost
love
weight.
to.
I lost weight.
You did?
I mean, just so we could fit a few more people.
There you go. That's good. So anyways, tell us, Joe, talk a little bit more about some of the other bills that we've got pending here.
Well, the bills are co-sponsored by Representative O'Connell, Representative Wong, and a long list of very, very important legislators.
Yeah, and just bipartisan support, which
right.
is very
Right,
important.
Right.
This
that's
is,
right.
and again, this is one of the few things that you'll see that they are reaching across the aisle, and not with tennis rackets to hit each other. They're working together on this. I
Thanks
know.
for pointing that out. That's true.
Senator Bruce Tarr has been very influential
Yes.
for your people. Okay, and again, it's a bipartisan effort. There's no partisan politics in here. This is something that is strictly for children.
That's right.
And there's no parties when it comes to that.
Right. There's no room for it. It's for
That's
kids.
right. I mean, when the first version of Jessica's Law passed a few years ago, I think there were only 3 people that voted against it. So it had almost unanimous approval.
So, okay. So tell us a little bit more about some of these other ones you've got now. You've got a huge bipartisan support here. You've got a groundswell of people that are, they're getting on this now. And you've done a magnificent job of getting your message out there.
Thank you.
And, you've had a lot of help, but I mean, you know what? You've got, you're the one that's been doing the work and the legwork from the beginning, and you've got all these people helping you now that see what you're doing and want to be part of it. And, it's just a wonderful thing.
And I have to say, Dan, that Protect Mass Children has worked so hard. From the time I started running and they found out who I was and how I got involved and why I started running, they contacted me right away. And they have been very involved. They go out and they go out of their way to find ways to educate people on these issues and on the laws that are pending and get people involved. So they have done a terrific job.
Fantastic. Now, Christina,
right?
we haven't forgot you. Okay, we haven't forgot you, but
Okay.
we're saving you because we want to
That's
talk.
right. That's Smith.
We want to talk to you a little bit, but I want to have Joe just finish running down these bills that we
Sure,
have.
absolutely.
And then we're going to talk to you a little bit.
Okay.
Well, the first bill is a 30-year mandatory sentence. We're looking for a little bit longer than Jessica's Law. The state, in my eyes, in our eyes as a group, is a haven. People come to Massachusetts as a destination because we're lenient with sex offenders.
And that is for forcible
Forcible rape
of
of
a
a
child under 14 years
under
of
14
age.
years old.
Okay.
That's right. And it's a very tough case to convict. So if it's a conviction that our lovely district attorneys get, then we believe going through a trial process, having a victim go through what they have to go through to do that. Furthermore, the crime in general is heinous. And we need a strong mandatory sentence for that. We need to send a message, and we need a solution. And as a victim, you look at things a little bit differently. And why would someone come forward for a weak sentence? Why would someone rip apart their family? Most of these crimes are in their family. Why would they? What do they get out of it? They get nothing. They rip apart their family. The offender's out in 3 years, and they live in fear the rest of their lives. We do nothing for these victims. Services for victims. There's very little for the victims. Right. Everything's about the perpetrator. They have the defense bars. They have the defense attorneys. They have all this money that comes in to protect them. What do the victims get?
Right.
They get nothing. So, the first statute is 30-year mandatory, and I believe it's appropriate for the crime. 30 years.
It is. It's for the worst offenders. It's for people that should belong in jail.
Now, you mentioned district attorneys. Now, I know from our last meeting that the district attorneys in general are behind you 100% on this, and this is a tool they need.
Right.
So you've got a wide range of support from everybody, and it's not just political parties. I mean, it's the court system. So you've got the support you need.
Dan, that's a good way to put it, a tool they need,
right.
Because it is an additional tool. It doesn't stop them from doing other
right.
things that they may do anyway. Sometimes they bargain cases
right.
down, whatever it may be. This doesn't prevent that, but it gives them that additional tool to put the worst people
Absolutely.
in jail and keep them in jail. Because
Absolutely.
there's this kind of misconception that they can do nothing else, but that's not
Right.
the case.
These are added statutes.
Yeah.
They're not amending statutes. They're tools. They're meant to be for the worst of the worst. They're meant to be to prevent the crimes. And when it happens and there's a conviction, they're meant to protect the child.
Right.
Get these people off the street. Make our state safer for our children. If we can't protect our children as a society, what does that say about us? Everything starts with a good childhood. Everything. So it's common sense legislation. It's simple to pass. People need to continue to call their state representatives, call their senators, be respectful, not scream and yell at them.
Well, there's still some resistance to this.
Well, of course there is, because we have a lot of defense attorneys in the legislature.
Right. Well, and Shaunna
One
can tell you all,
less.
Shaunna can tell you all about that. Yeah. Shaunna made sure that there is one less, and that was everybody knows the story. We don't need to rehash it. We all know the story. We all know the famous video and the card and the whole 9 yards. But
I want one of those cards.
now another question I have.
I'll pay money for one of those cards.
Another question I have, Joe, is we hear a lot about repeat offenders.
Yes.
What's the deal there now? Have you sponsored something? Have you
Yep.
got,
Yep, that's,
something for repeat offenders?
well-
because that seems to be a bigger problem
Right.
on its own.
Right. Well, the problem with repeat offenders is the reporting is so low. So, the studies are all over the place with repeat offenders. But the problem with it is they're usually caught in a 10-year span. Excuse me. And in that 10-year span, they go through victim after victim. So when they're finally caught and convicted, we have to take that very seriously. And that's the second bill, and actually the third bill and the fourth bill. And what those bills address is exactly that, repeat offenders. And they actually are meant for tools in so many different ways. The second bill is forcible rape of a child, under 14, repeat offense. Life in prison, no parole. Not life in prison out in 15 years, like the statutes, the sentencing guidelines are today. No parole, that's it, you'll never hurt another child. The third bill is 3 strikes, you're in. Not 3 strikes, you're out, 3 strikes, you're in.
I like that. Yeah.
And what
It's a
that
little
is,
different, yes.
Absolutely, and what it is this is actually the best tool that our police departments, our district attorneys, our state representatives, our children have to be safe. And what that bill does is it takes any sex offender that's been convicted, not charged, convicted of 3 sex crimes from lewd and lascivious acts up. Now that's not going to the bathroom in the woods. I know that's a big thing, and that's not a Romeo and Juliet relationship where there's a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old. These are serious sex crimes.
Okay, and I happen to have a list of these, and
That's
we can
right.
go down this: lewd and lascivious acts, indecent assault and battery on a child, elder, or disabled, which is interesting.